Hey guys, so this is Trig Day 10. This is going to be combining basically everything that we've done so far this week in order to find our angles or find our sine and cosine of different angles in the unit circle in our quadrants 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so in quadrant 1, these we just kind of have to know. But for quadrant 2, 3, and 4, so we have like another angle over here that's the same as 30, and the same over here, and the same over here. Okay, so we don't want to have to memorize all of those numbers. We want to have a way that we can find them and just use this right here. So that was kind of the whole purpose of everything that we've done so far this week, is to find these other angles in the unit circle. So we're going to start with just some examples here. Okay, so we're going to start with 315. Okay, so 315 is the angle that we're going to start with. So 315 we know is between 270 and we know it's between 360. Okay, we know it's in quadrant 4. So for 315, it's over here, somewhere over here. Okay, we want to find our reference angle first because it's going to be similar to 30, 45, or 60. It has to be one of those has to be its reference angle, because we want to take this angle in the fourth quadrant. We want to make it similar to something up here. Okay, so the first thing that we do is we're going to find our reference angle. So 360 minus 315, 360 minus 315, and we get 45. Okay, so up here, that's our blue angle. So I'm going to draw it in here. So cutting it right in half, that's my 315. Okay, so let's think about what's different from the first quadrant into the fourth quadrant. If I have the point like 2, 1 up here, okay, that means both my numbers are positive, right? My x value and my y value are both positive. But in the fourth quadrant, let's think about what's positive here. I'm still going to the right, so my x value is still positive, but I'm going down, so my y value is going to be negative. So when I have 315, okay, the numbers are going to be the same as 45. That's the purpose of our reference angle. I'm saying, okay, I'm using these numbers because they're the same, but instead of my y value being positive up here for 45, now it's going to be negative because I'm in the fourth quadrant. So my answer here for 315, my point is going to be square root of 2 over 2 because my x value is still positive, but then my y value is going to be negative square root of 2 over 2 because my y value is negative there. So if I ask you to find the sine and the cosine of this angle right here of 315, so if I'm asking you for the sine of 315, remember sine is just our y value. So my answer is negative square root of 2 over 2. If I'm asking you for the cosine of 315, my answer is just going to be the x value, which is square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so I don't need to like memorize these numbers because it's always going to be one of these 6 points. It's just I have to figure out what is different with my x and my y value. Is one of them negative? Is one of them positive now? That like what's the difference there? So it's still going to be one of these points. It's just you have to pay attention to your signs there. So first thing is you need to find your reference angle. You need to find if it's 30, 45, or 60. Then you're taking those numbers and you're just saying, okay, here are my numbers, but in the fourth quadrant, x is positive and y is negative. Okay, so that's all we're doing for that one. Okay, so now let's move on to the next one. Let's say 450 degrees. So 450 is actually bigger than 360, right? So I want to find my my coterminal angle actually first. So if I have 450, we'll do this little work down here. So if I have 450, I want to subtract 360 to figure out where this angle is, because I don't know where it is if it's larger than 360. So this is actually 90 degrees. Is 450. It is exactly the same as 90 degrees, okay? Because 450 means I start at 0, I go around the whole time, and I go 90 degrees more. So I'm actually stopping here, okay? So if I'm asking you for the sine of 450, so sine of 450, okay, sine of 450, that's just my y value. So sine of 450 is just 1. Okay, and then if I'm looking for cosine of 450, that's just my x value, which is just 0. Okay, so sometimes we have to find it in different quadrants. Sometimes it's just there. And if it's larger than 360, like if I had 390, that's the same as 30, right? So here's my point. Okay, all right, let's look at some radians now. So I don't have any radians listed here. So what I'm going to have to do, just like we were doing before, is we're going to have to convert it. So if I've got 5 pi over 6, I'm going to multiply it by 180 over pi to get rid of that pi and get it into degrees. So 5 times 180 divided by 6, I get 150. 150 degrees. So now I need to find, now I'm doing exactly what I did over here. Okay, I need to figure out what quadrant I'm in. So 150 is between 90 and 180. So I'm definitely in quadrant 2. So I'm up here, 150 degrees. Now I need to figure out my reference angle. So to figure out my reference angle, I'm doing 180 minus 150, and that gives me 30 degrees. Okay, so I'm looking at the red here, 30 degrees. So 150 is going to be here, the same as 30. So it's 150 degrees. Okay, now we just need to figure out, okay, what are my differences in signs? In quadrant 2, I'm going left and I'm going up. So my x is negative, my y is positive. And now I'm just stealing the numbers from over here, but I'm changing my signs. So I'm changing 150 is going to be negative square root of 3 over 2. And it's going to be positive 1/2. Because again, the numbers are exactly the same. I just have to change the signs. So in quadrant 2, it's negative, then positive. Okay, so if I ask you for the cosine of 150, it's negative square root of 3 over 2. If I ask you for the sine of 150, it's 1/2. So again, find your reference angle. Then steal the numbers, change the signs however you need to, depending on which quadrant you're in. Okay, we're going to do one more. So I'm going to give you one more in radians. Okay, so we're going to do 7 pi over 6 this time. So we're going to multiply by 180 over pi. So 7 times 180, we're going to divide by 6, and we get 210. Okay, so first let's figure out what quadrant are we in. 210 is between 180 and 270. So 210 is over here in quadrant 3. Now I need to find my reference angle. So I'm going to subtract 180. And I get 210 minus 180 equals 30. Okay, so again, I'm in quadrant 3. I'm looking at 30 degrees. Right there. So this is 210. And again, I'm stealing these numbers. They are exactly the same. The only thing I have to change is my signs. So in quadrant 3, I'm going left and I'm going down. So both of them are negative. It's negative, negative. So in quadrant 3, I got 210. Now I have my point, or my point is negative square root of 3 over 2. And negative 1/2 because it's the same numbers with different signs, however you need to change that, okay? So there are 3 different angles in each quadrant, right? There's a red, there's a blue, and there's a black. They all match up with something over here though, like in 315, it was 45 just in the 4th quadrant. 210 and 150 were 30, but they were in the 2nd and the 3rd quadrant. So in the 2nd quadrant, there's one that matches up with 60, there's one that matches up with 45. You're taking those numbers and you're just changing the signs. So first, figure out what quadrant you are in. Then find the reference angle. Once you found the reference angle, steal the numbers, change the signs. Okay, so go ahead and try your homework for Trig Day 10, and you are all set for the week.